Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
All right, episode 2 of Show Me the Source podcast.
Here we are. Second week, we made it.
We made it. We're staying strong here. We haven't fallen off just quite yet.
Consistency is king.
Awesome. We got some good topics to talk about today, Ryan. What are we talking about?
Yeah, we've got some good things to run through. Big thing that we're going to run through, I think, initially is just some of the kind of more shout-out experiments and things that we've seen over the last couple of months that have happened since June, July time. And then we're going to run through how agents are actually using this in real time. So this is not just theory. This is more of a, we've seen it, we've tested it, these things have happened, and we want to just kind of walk through, at least, we'll give you the bare bones. We won't give you all the sauce, but we'll give you a little bit.
A little appetizer.
A little appetizer, a little taste.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was going to save this, Ryan, but I'm just going to jump right into it.
Hit me.
A lot of marketers in the industry, a lot of influencers in the industry today, I'm sure, have you been noticing this? They're talking about AI visibility.
I have been noticing it, yeah.
Okay. And not that this, I don't want to disparage them. We all know them. Some of them I know personally. I get it. First of all, I'll preface it with that. I get it. It is a fresh topic. It's a hot button topic. They want to talk about it. They're always looking for new content to talk about. But the problem I have when I watch these videos that are out there on YouTube, the problem is they talk about these things as if it's tacit knowledge, like they've done the thing. That's not the case, right? So like we've been doing this now for a year. We understand how to do this. We do this for agents every day. And my fear is that agents are watching these videos and doing things incorrectly. And so, through this podcast, our hope is that we're actually going to show you the things, the correct things to be doing to improve your AI visibility, not just what somebody is reading and trying to regurgitate in hope that it will help them. We're actually living and breathing this for agents. And so this is what we want to do. We want to raise awareness that these are the things that you have to be doing. And through these episodes, we're going to be sharing more and more of the sauce. And we'll get into a little bit of that today.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. You put it slightly more delicately than I would have put it. It's the British candor in me. It would have just been, I would have bulldozed that one. But the important thing, I think, and you hit it on the head, is that this AI visibility, this AI search is a marketing channel. It is not a shortcut. So when you get, tidbits of advice and you think, if I do this one thing, it's just going to give me all of these great results. It's just like anything. If you do Facebook ads or email marketing, sure, little things might help and they might push you along in the right direction. But unless you've tested it and you've done it and you've tweaked it and refined it, it's at that point just pure guesswork. Mm-hmm. And we have the fortunate or unfortunate pleasure of figuring this stuff out for what it actually is, how it works, what the boundaries are. How far can we push it? How little do we need to do? How much do we need to do? So I agree with you, and I'm glad that the narrative we can change, hopefully, will help agents understand just how big this could be, but also you got to put in the work.
Yeah. Well, speaking about how big this can be and is becoming, let's talk about, because I know you got a stat for us to talk about the adoption of ChatGPT, comparing it to the search engines like Bing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the data came out from June. I'm sure July's data will be coming out soon. But for those of you who have used Bing, the small percentage, I say small percentage because relatively to Google, it's a small number, but it's still millions of people. So when I say this, it doesn't sound that huge, but it is the first time this has happened in well over a decade. ChatGPT now sends more traffic to websites than Bing. And considering the time horizons, right? Bing has existed for 10 years, maybe, something like that.
Google that while you're talking.
Right? You have to use Google to find out about Bing. That's
First of all,
the fundamental problem
with
Bing.
What is Bing?
Why do I use Bing in the first place? So the fact that Bing has existed for however many years it has, and ChatGPT has only really existed 09. So what's that? 15 years?
15, 16 years, yeah.
15, 16 years. A long time. And in that 15, 16 years, it hasn't really built a consumer base other than maybe, like a handful of grandparents or something to really use it on a daily, because Google just held so much market share. It was just so easy to Google something. The fact that ChatGPT in 4 years, 5 years, maybe at max, has been able to now send more traffic to websites than Bing has in its 15, 16 years is a huge leap in the whole AI debate. And it is now growing in terms of like user bases and how many searches are happening every single day. And this is the stat. I'm going to read it, so I'm not like making this up. It is growing at 3.8 times faster than Google. How does that? What are your initial thoughts to that? Because I don't think we've really sat and really like.
Yeah, I think it's obvious when we talk to agents, whether we're on phone calls, because they're curious about what Fly Dragon can do for them, or we're at an event talking, or we're doing a webinar. Agents have no idea how big ChatGPT has already become. It's like they're behind the 8 ball, right? Consumers have already shifted. I think the last time I looked, I think Chat has 800 million weekly users, 800 million a week. Now that sounds like, I think you have to put that into context. Go back 4 months ago, 6 months ago, it was half that. It was 800 million users. So it has doubled, effectively doubled in just a few months. So what does the adoption look like in 6 more months or 12 more months? It's going to be it's going to be a lot
way
larger
bigger
of a number. Dr. Ng, I believe, he's referred to AI as the advent of electricity. Right? It's going to fundamentally change human behavior. It already is doing that. So agents who are early, we're still early, but we're not that early at this point. Agents are, whether figuring it out through our coaching, or they're figuring out because they're using our services. Agents are already getting phone calls today because the consumers are already going to ChatGPT. Now, maybe they're going there, only there, but I think a lot of us are still, over the last 20 years, conditioned to still go to Google, do the search, don't like the results. I'll need to go check out ChatGPT, because Chat, you can have a conversation. You can ask, who are the top real estate agents in my market? And maybe you get 3 results, maybe you get 10, all depends. And then you can ask follow-on questions. Hey, compare this agent to that agent. And then you get the phone call. And we're going to talk more about that on this podcast in a little bit. But yeah, if you take anything away from this podcast, it is that you can win with ChatGPT if you change your marketing behavior today. Look at the adoption rates of ChatGPT. Agents are already getting phone calls. What else do you need for proof that you should be focusing on AI visibility as a channel for the rest of 2025 and going into 2026?
Yeah. Also, another good point to make is that the adoption rate, I feel like with ChatGPT and AI in general, kind of will plateau and then all of a sudden accelerate. So it feels like you've got more time than you actually have, because it doesn't really feel like the general consumer is using it too much, even though we know that it is. But I think we live in a bit of a bubble, and it feels like that time delay between I need to do it now and I can do it in 6 months is actually longer than what it is. Because if you think about how quickly, like you just said, like the adoption of ChatGPT search has happened in 3 months. In the next 3 months, the I can do it later thing comes, damn, I wish I would have done it earlier.
Well, I also think, I'm Googling this right now because I forget the name of it, but you've got the adoption life cycle, right? You've got the innovators, and then you've got the early adopters. I think that's where we're sitting right now, is the early adopters are using ChatGPT. What happens when the laggards, right, which is the peak of the adoption life cycle, what happens when they all figure it out? Even my wife, she has no idea how to use ChatGPT. I talk about it all the time. I'm speaking Mandarin to her. What happens when the rest of the world figures this out? So, to your point, it's a great point. It's 800 million weekly today. What happens in 6 months when their friends and family are using it? They download the app. And they start realizing the power that they have it in their hands. That number is going to be in the billions pretty soon. I venture to say we will be north of 1 billion before the end of the year. Like, no doubt.
I would probably agree with that. And I think one other thing that agents need to think about, and this came out again in the exact same study that showed how quickly ChatGPT is growing versus Google, is that this consideration of, I already rank pretty well on Google, or I'm in the map pack, or whatever it might be where you're getting business from, 40% of the time where people appear in Google and they've got quote unquote good SEO, that doesn't transfer to ChatGPT by default. That isn't 40% of the time a brand that ranks in Google isn't mentioned on ChatGPT. So it's a completely new marketing channel. It's a completely new way of thinking, a completely new way of creating content. And with that kind of brings me on to the next couple of points that I believe are probably quite exciting for people like us and also for agents because of what they currently do. First one being, and there's 2 ways I want to split this, and you can help me you can help me say this in English, which is
I'll help the Englishman say it in English. You got it.
please do. Yeah, we have bestowed upon you the language, and now I need you to simplify it.
Deal.
So we have AI mode, which is Google, which is basically Google's version of ChatGPT, in a simple way of kind of putting it. And then we have ChatGPT, which is, its own web search, which uses other web searches to pull in the results. YouTube is now, and this is for real estate specifically, so this is not general broad terms. YouTube is now the most cited website in Google's AI mode. It would make sense because it's a Google-owned property. But what this means for agents who aren't using YouTube, and there is somewhere we can reference directly to prove this point. If you're not using YouTube, you're missing out on a hell of a lot of potential leads and a hell of a lot of potential listings. I don't know if we can say his name exactly. I don't know if we can get into that.
We could say shout outs. We give shout outs.
Okay. I think it would be better coming from you because you know him better than I do. And, I've only really learned about his strategy in the last couple of weeks, which actually blew my mind.
Are we talking about Matt Light?
We are talking about Matt Light.
Okay,
yeah,
I figured that.
we're talking about Matt Light.
Yeah. So Matt Light, agent down in Sarasota. Actually, he grew up right down the street from me. I didn't even know that. I've known him for a decade. I didn't know this till recently since he became a client of ours, but I worked with him in the past for doing his marketing over at Curator. And so he's down in Sarasota, and he's really hit it hard over the past 5 years with YouTube. I don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was 35 million in volume he's done this year alone from his YouTube videos. I think he did 35 million last year, so he's pacing to do more than 35 this year from YouTube. Like, he owns it down there. I think 3 or maybe 4 videos of all the videos he does are the bread and butter that are producing the most phone calls. So these are direct phone calls. I know he does a little bit of lead gen with them, not running ads to them, but I should say in the description of the video, there's this downloadable guide. But I want to say the majority of, if not all of the business is coming from the phone calls from YouTube videos because he's so helpful with his content. Off the top of my head, he's best new construction. He's doing best neighborhoods, buyer tips in Sarasota, all the things that we're constantly preaching to do in your market. He's doing, and he's winning with that on this one specific channel, YouTube.
Yeah, and it's I think it's you said it then, because again I kind of really want to get agents to get into this mindset of longevity and consistency and I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just, with AI coming out, it feels like there's a bunch of ways that you can kind of jump the queue, and there are, but it's you've got to do the building block stuff too, right? And so Matt's been doing that for 5 years. AI search didn't really exist 5 years ago. It didn't exist 5 years ago. And now that he has built that platform, he's built that channel just by luck of the draw, he now will eventually naturally win from that YouTube because it's being cited the most. So if you're not using YouTube in your strategy, what would you recommend to agents to do? What would be their, top 5 videos to go make today? If we're using Matt as inspiration to get started at least.
There were 3 of them right there. In fact, what we talk about often with long form, this is what we're doing. We can't be the agent on video. We probably can, probably will figure this out using voice cloning and avatars when we get around to that. But if you're not doing this today, what we're doing that works really well with long form content would be living in town or city, comparing town or city to another nearby town or city where a lot of buyers or people moving into the market might be comparing. Let's say maybe Sarasota versus Tampa. I don't know. I don't live down there. Best neighborhoods in. Now, if you live in a smaller market, probably not as relevant. But if you live in a market that has neighborhoods, talk about the neighborhoods on video. Best new construction is one of the videos he's doing. So all the things that you should be doing for long form content, like written blogs and pages on your website, those are easy to. It's about cross pollinating, right? So if you write a blog, that becomes your show notes for recording a video. A high quality video that speaks to the same topic. This is what we're doing with Matt right now this month. So we learned that he has 3 or 4 videos that have resulted in 35 million this year alone. We said, well, great, that's great information. We're now going to go write blogs. We're going to watch your videos, and those 10 new construction neighborhoods or builders that you're talking about we're going to put that on your website. We can also embed the video as well, keep people on the page longer. It's working on YouTube. In theory, it should be working then on your website.
Yeah, 100%. And I put you on the spot there on purpose, but we do this. We do this, right?
Ryan, we'll just edit that out if I flounder. Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to go back to that you mentioned it. Mm-hmm. AI mode. You mentioned AI mode.
Yeah.
I say most agents, but it's come up more often than not. When I say AI mode to an agent, they think I'm talking about AI overview.
Okay.
Which is another called feature of Google. Can you just quickly define, because it's brand new, it's relatively new, what AI mode is compared to AI overview or just traditional Google search?
Yeah, the real simple way to put it, AI mode is Google's conversational engine. So it works and operates in a very similar way to ChatGPT. It just doesn't have the same, I guess the way I would put it, it doesn't have the same level of personalization. It doesn't feel like you can ask like a series of questions, but that is the aim of it.
Yeah.
And I did see something last week because there was this kind of like debate about whether or not it was going to be forced upon people, as in whether or not that was just going to be the norm. And Google have launched google.com/AI, which is their AI mode. So if you haven't tried it yet, or if you haven't seen it, go use it and you get to grips with what it's trying to do. Mm-hmm. But if it does become the norm, and AI mode is ChatGPT's equivalent, but from Google, you can be sure that Google will be kind of layering in very similar features from ChatGPT, but also I suspect because it's Google, there will be ads involved. So another thing to consider if you're an agent, if you are spending money on paid. Yeah,
I think paid PPC in particular, Google PPC, more recently local service ads, even now Google Business Profile ads. They're all they need to monetize their platform. And so the agents who were quick, early to local service ads crushed it. The agents quick or early to PPC crushed it. And then it gets so saturated, CPLs go up, right? These are tire kickers. So if your prediction's correct, be an early adopter when they do monetize AI mode or whatever they call it in the future. You have a period of time that you will win there. So anyway, AI mode is Google's answer. This is how I see it anyway. It's response to the growing adoption. It's all about market share, keeping people in the Google ecosystem. So when we share 800 million weekly users on ChatGPT, where they come from? They weren't just born. They were using Google, maybe 5 of them using Bing. So Google's seeing, oh shoot, we're losing a lot of market share, sizable amount. We need to keep them here and enter into the conversation AI mode.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And with that, I believe this will be the biggest call out for agents because this works. You mentioned it a second ago, like cross-pollination between platforms. And it's something me and you have spoke about literally for probably 6 months to thousands of different agents now, whether it be for Jimmy Mackin or Chris Smith or for the lab event you did in Dallas, is how important Reddit is. And I kind of want to just sit and kind of riff on this for a second because even though we stress how important it is, I don't think the severity or the impact that it could have on an agent's business is quite yet landing. For some people it does, and then some people it doesn't really. So I want to kind of walk through a strategy and how agents can use it, what we recommend they do. And even if we can, I can probably just pull up a live screen share and just kind of show how easy and simple it is to just find this stuff to be involved in the conversation. Yeah.
Let's do it. I know I did it when we get to it. I'm sure we could find the one I did for Paul Kaplan, which got pulled into the AI results in ChatGPT for a period of time. I don't know if it's still sticking. These things, they don't stick forever. Whether it's Reddit, press, pages, it's a constant defend the castle, defend your position when you get there. I also did it for Matt Light. And this took me 2 minutes to do. So we do talk about Reddit quite a bit. It doesn't get the love. I know that Reddit is cited more in ChatGPT than YouTube is. So I think that's a something that we need to emphasize here in this phone call. If you're crushing it like Matt is with YouTube, it doesn't mean that his YouTube and look, YouTube is owned by Google. So if you were to search for best new construction developments, and you'll probably see YouTube videos or best neighborhoods, you'll see those probably above the first organic result. And then you'll probably also see a Reddit thread. However, ChatGPT is not citing YouTube as often as it's citing Reddit. And so that's an important distinction, especially if you're not an agent who's comfortable creating video today.
Yeah, and that is such a good distinction as well, because AI search is broken up. Like you say, paid media, that could be Facebook ads, Instagram ads, it could be PPC, whatever, right? So when we talk about AI search and AI visibility, these strategies and tactics, they work in a very similar way, but they are different per platform. So this is, again, real estate specific. So Reddit generates 10%. I'm reading like exact facts here or stats here. 10% of all ChatGPT citations, and from my own digging, which was done last week, so this is pretty recent data, Reddit was featured in 18,000 results for real estate agents in August alone. So it's a mammoth of a channel. And I'm just going to show you real quick the type of things people are searching, and I want to highlight what it looks like, what you're looking for, and how you can maybe take advantage of it if you haven't yet. If you're, camera shy, or maybe you've got a face for radio. This is the type of thing that would work great for you. So, best time to buy a home in Florida. I've VPN, so I've changed my location to the US so you can see what a US result might look like. Now, this is, I think, might be good to call out the differences of each individual feature. So the thing we're looking at the top here is AI overviews. So AI overviews is just a summary of all of the key points from the websites that Google has accessed to try and give you a very quick answer. So that's AI overviews. If I do AI mode, I'll show you that very quickly. You can see the difference in how, the interface is different. It's maybe broke down more than the AI overviews, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a real quick whistle-stop tour. But you can see best time to buy a home in Florida, which is, potentially quite a high-intent search. Somebody is looking to move or relocate, potentially in the next 90 days, whatever. If I go to Reddit, and this is 2 years old, of course, but there are going to be tons and tons of examples of what this means. So is this the right time to purchase a home in Florida? And then there's like UGC, which is user-generated content, where people are having discussions back and forth about when's the best time, potentially what agents to use, what neighborhoods to move into, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that agents can take advantage of in threads similar to this, obviously if it's like 2 years old, you're probably not going to do or add a ton of value because the person has probably got their answer. I mean, if they haven't got their answer 2 years on, yeah, sure, jump in. But you're looking for something that's maybe a month old, right? But I'm in Florida. Google returned Reddit as the core result, and ChatGPT would have done the same because they kind of operate in the exact same way. And if I just go into the Florida thread and I put in here, like, for example, I don't know, homes, you can start to pull out your subreddits where you might be, as an agent, a valuable source. So think about this in a way that Tim just said a second ago. Best neighborhoods in, best constructions, this town versus this town. All of those principles still apply to Reddit. So if you know of a particular development or a particular neighborhood that's quite popular, why don't you search for it in Reddit, find the thread, and if I was an agent, and Tim, you did this for Paul Katelyn, right? Mm-hmm. You went into the subreddit, you said that you had done a transaction with Paul, and it was pulled through pretty much next day?
Yeah, you can actually do this right now.
Yeah, sure.
If you Google this, we'll find it probably faster, but who's the best realtor in Palm Springs?
Who's the best realtor in Palm Springs?
So there's different ways to go about this, right? Like there's leading with value, so you're not being self-serving. So if somebody's asking, is living in X safe, right? What's the cost of living here? You can jump in and answer those questions, as you should. And we see these Reddit threads get cited in ChatGPT all the time, in Google as well. There it is, Tim Harvey Jr. Right? So this was just for fun. Now this is just purely experimental. A couple months ago, and traditional. This is not a new tactic. This has its place with traditional SEO. So what we want to do is say, or answer the hype. We had a prediction that this would also work for ChatGPT, and so I found this. It was old. It wasn't that new, a year old or so. And so the question is, who's the best agent? I say Paul Katelyn is the best agent in Palm Springs. I'm basically feeding it keywords. The Katelyn Group has sold more than 1,500 homes, ranked the first team in Coachella Valley, has done more than $1 billion in career sales. Check them out. I linked to the website. I didn't even say I work with them because I didn't want to be dishonest. Right? So I'm using objective fact to come up with my subjective opinion that he is the best agent based on the facts. And then if you go, well, it's not sticking now. Again, these things have a shelf life, but I just happened a few days later, remember that I did this, I forgot. And so I searched who's the best real estate agent or realtor in Palm Springs, and it gave a few names, but then just below the top 3 names, it pulled in a Reddit thread citing Paul Kaplan of the Kaplan Group. I'm like, is that me? So I clicked on the citation, it brought me right to my comment.
Which is great. Like, and that was a month ago you added that.
Yeah, so it's stuck for probably a week or two.
Yeah, and this is the thing where, we speak about the longevity and the consistency. There is going to be a point where people or platforms, AI platforms, understand that there are other sources to grab from, right? So if we did this for Paul Kaplan once and we just did one Reddit thread, chances are, unless it's a very niche area, the chances are that's going to come out in a week or 2 weeks. It could stick for longer. It could come out in 24 hours based on how difficult, or how busy your market is.
Yeah, so I also think Chat has a recency bias, right?
Yeah.
Or any of the AI platforms have a bias for the most recent information. So if I posted this a few months ago, but there's something else out there that it can cite that is fresh and new, it's going to bump me and pull that new data point in, which is why I think it's very important that we explain this and we over explain on this webinar that this is not set it and forget it. Hey, you did this one time, whether it's it's local media, press, a Reddit thread, a page on your website. It is a constant battle when you've got to storm the castle, get into the results, get your name there, but then you've got to defend your position in perpetuity for as long as you want to rank there, right? So this is something that is like we spend a lot of time and energy ensuring our agents get there, and then we defend that position to make sure they don't get knocked out. And when they do, it will happen. We get them back in.
Yeah, it's as my American cousins would say, it's as much about defense as it is about offense, right?
Exactly.
That's how we do it.
Hey, defense wins championships.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we say in the UK. We always say that. That's it's a common thing.
I'll also say, Ryan. Let me say one more thing.
Hit me.
I say that it likely will fall out after some time unknown, right? It all depends on the market, depends on the competition, size of the market, right? But then we have a client like Katelyn Warren, who she's been sticking for, what is it, like 2 months now?
Yeah, 2 months now, yeah.
Yeah, so it can stick for a long time. Will she stick forever? Hey, I hope so. But at the point where she doesn't, like, we will do what we need to do to make sure she stays there. Now, her market, let's talk about this a little bit. So Gatlinburg, Tennessee is one of the areas in Tennessee that she services. We're talking to her this summer, and she told us, hey, Douglas Lake is another area I work nearby. This time of year is the peak season. It's a destination place. People buy vacation properties, or I think maybe Airbnbs as well for short-term rentals. I want to hit it now. Like, we were already in the market. Like, damn, okay, that doesn't give us a lot of time. Like, these things can take time. But maybe we can get into how we did it. But I think within 2 weeks, or let's say 2 weeks from the ask from her to us to focus on Douglas Lake to when her phone started ringing from the work that we did, it was about 2 weeks, and she's still there, which is fantastic for her. Shout out to Katelyn.
Shout out to Katelyn. Massive shout out to Katelyn. And Katelyn didn't just, we did that for Katelyn. That was, a joint effort. But Katelyn does all of the hard work. She deals with the clients. She does everything correct. She follows up. She chases people when they need to be chased. Some of the testimonials we've seen about Katelyn are incredible. And I think it was either last Friday or Thursday that she was officially the top selling agent in her office. Is that right? Am I miss?
Yeah, I'm actually looking on Facebook now. She shared something. It's the August. Century 21 Legacy top listing agents. Yeah, she's been named among one of the top agents for the Century 21 Legacy office,
which is awesome, and it's such a different position to potentially a quite a different position to where Katelyn was. When the market was a bit more difficult, the touristy influx of people hadn't yet kicked in, to now be in a position only 2 months later, maybe a month and a half later, where she is one of the top producing agents from her brokerage in that market is insane. And it's just her. She hasn't got a team. Yeah. As far as I know, it's an independent agent. She's doing everything right. And the most important thing is, and this comes back to, will it stick, will it not stick? And you said this brilliantly the other week. It's just it really rattles my brain that I didn't write down how you positioned it, but I'm going to give you the credit, is ChatGPT won't lie. So if you were to say, I am the best-selling agent in Philadelphia, and you've done one transaction in the last 3 years, chances are you won't be able to cheat your way to the top.
You got to substantiate the claim is the point.
You've got, exactly. Yeah. Eloquently put, sir. Eloquently put. Because, and the way that I think about this is, and I might be wrong or right in the way that I think about this, but I have a peculiar brain. I would rather be, if I was an agent in America, I would rather be known for something, as in like, I am the best mid-market luxury agent, than trying to own the entire market, best agent in Philadelphia. I might want to be the best agent that sells condos in Philadelphia. I might want to be the best agent over a 4-block radius, because that's where my home buyers and sellers are. Like, I don't really need the entire city or state to have a very lucrative business. You say this as well. I'm going to give you credit again.
Okay,
I hate to do it.
Keep going.
Twice in one day.
Right in the back. Let's go.
You say this a lot about focusing on the long tail, right? Which is like the relocation, the snowbirds, the investment opportunities, the best agent for luxury apartments, whatever it might be. And I want you to, because again, you say these things to me off camera, off recording, that are just again pretty well put. I'm not going to give you too much of a credit, but pretty well put. All right. And like, why do you think it to help agents understand, if they do want to be the best in their market, how to think about the long tail and why they should think about the long tail, for the longevity?
Well, first off, I said you have to be able to substantiate the claim. So let's take Philadelphia as an example. So we work with a client, Reed Rosenthal there, and in tremendous amount of experience, over $1 billion in sales. I forget the rest off the top of my head, but probably 170 sides in the past year. Again, don't quote me, but deserved of being in the consideration set for the best agent in Philadelphia or the main line, which is an area in Philadelphia. Doesn't mean that it's easy for him to rank. So I'm not talking long tail here when we say, maybe we should define that for those who don't understand what long tail is, but think of it as being more niche. So best realtor in Philadelphia is not long tail. Best realtor in X neighborhood, or best relocation specialist in X, that is long tail. So you're going to have the search volume for that will be much smaller than Philadelphia, right? Understandably. But again, compete where you can win. So if you can substantiate the claim that, okay, maybe I can't get all Philadelphia, but I specialize here. I have a lot of production here. A lot of my reviews come from here. Topical authority is something that I'll mention. Location and topical authority. If you have authority, you have a higher degree of a higher probability that you'll be cited as the source there. So focus on the long tail, especially if you have agents in your market who have $1 billion plus in sales. How could you possibly compete, right? If you've got 10 transactions this year, and you look to the top 3 agents or teams in your market that have hundreds of transactions and maybe in the past few months, good luck, right? Like you cannot win there, but compete where you can win, which would be, is that same team or mega agent creating content and topical authority around this specific neighborhood? In fact, we just brought on a client, Shannon Bazance, who's a hell of a human. I haven't seen her in years. She's actually at the event that we were at. And so she's in Surprise. She used to be in California, relocated to Surprise, Arizona a couple of years back. And so that's a part of Phoenix, or maybe it's just outside of Phoenix, but population is still pretty substantial. We're going to help her now be the go-to agent in Surprise, Arizona. We're not going to be doing anything related to Greater Phoenix, Metro Phoenix, Central Phoenix. We are going hyper-specific on Surprise, Arizona. So if this sounds like your market, focus there. Like, focus where you can win. That would be the long tail, right? So maybe it's just Surprise, which is part of Phoenix, or maybe it's condos, Maybe it's I'm going to butcher this word. Is it chalets? Chalets?
Chalets,
I don't I don't snowboard, but like we have a client up in Canada who focuses on chalets.
Shallots.
Shallots.
Oh man,
It's got to be French. Yeah. So yeah, I've
Some
never
kind
been
of French.
some kind of French. There's like a silent T in there. So think about what you do, or maybe you don't even think like that, but you should.
You should.
You say, "Oh, my market's different." Everybody always says, "My market's different." People don't think like that. They do. Find where you compete, and you can win there.
Yeah, and again, a mindset shift. I'm going to get deep on this one a little bit, but the overarching thing, right? If you are the best agent in Philadelphia, and that's your kind of, your ego term, you want to be the best in that state. I get it. Or that city, I get it. But the proportion of people that are going to come to you for that are going to be 90% tire kickers. They're not going to be high intent. They're just kind of researching. They might be 10 months away from making a decision. I don't know. The life cycle might be longer, depending on the market. But if somebody goes to ChatGPT or to Google and says, I really want to sell my 4-bedroom condo in this neighborhood for over 750K, and I want to do it below the days on market need to be, I don't know, 90 or whatever. Who is that person? That is a very specific, very high intent search. It's like if you were to say if right now I went outside and I realized my car had broken down, wheels had fallen off, someone had stolen my exhaust, whatever, right? I'm not going to go to Google and say car repair where I live. I'm just going to say the specific make of my car, the specific tire make model that I have, and the year of it. So I'm going to get really deep into who I need and why I need them. So exact same thing with real estate. Own the long tail. Be that person. Be when somebody is like, you have 10 searches a month, but they're all super high intent, as in the potential to be a lead. I'd rather have 100 people come to my site every single month with a 50% chance of converting versus 10,000 people come to my site and 0.05% of them are even interested. So that's how I think.
Going back to Katelyn, even with Douglas Lake. So she works, she puts on a lot of miles, it seems, on her car because her market is so East Tennessee, right? That's huge. East Tennessee. So does she want to be the number one agent in East Tennessee? Sure. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
But she's not focusing on that. Our strategy is not to focus on that. So, Gatlinburg, one of the key areas of late, Douglas Lake. And so now she's had 2 phone calls. I think it's 1.3 million.
Yeah.
These 2 buyers who are looking to buy in Douglas Lake, and they found her from the off-page SEO work that we've been doing. So we've been focused on an area where we know we can compete and win. So, perfect example. Who wouldn't want 1.3 million in appointments in just 2 weeks' time? So
I take
focus
it.
on the long tail. I think your point's well made on long tail.
Yeah, I would take that. So I think just to kind of recap, because there are some gems in this podcast, and I want agents to really kind of extract that. And if it means we just got to very quickly give them the source, and I'm going to do exactly that. So YouTube, you mentioned, if you're not doing YouTube right now, the key videos to start with are the same that we mentioned for the on-site SEO, which is this neighborhood versus this neighborhood. Is it safe to live in this area? What's it like living there? Best construction, whatever it might be. All right, that's the first thing I would do.
Moving to best neighborhoods in.
Yep. So YouTube strategy. Go if you need inspiration, go to Matt Light's YouTube. The guy crushes it. If you need to kind of come up with topics and ideas, use him 100 times out of 100. The next thing is Reddit. How do we attack this, right? We go to a subreddit, you leave objective value rather than, making things up, and you link to, where appropriate, the agent in question. And it can be about yourself if you want to be, or you could have somebody from your office talk about it and recommend you as the agent. Like, that would be the strategy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you cannot do that once. So pay attention to the subreddits for a duration of time, whether that be a month, 90 days, whatever, but you've got to stay consistent with this. And then if we take Hit me. What are you going to say?
I was just gonna make a joke, but now it's not funny because I'm saying I'm making a joke. But I was thinking because this takes 60 seconds to go find a thread and post. So I'm thinking every agent has 60 seconds. We know you're probably time blocking to call leads. You're probably not going to call the leads. So if you're looking for an out, so you don't have to call these leads and get told to F off all morning long, then take that time and go to a Reddit thread or find several Reddit threads and put your time there versus just sitting on your phone and scrolling. If you're not actually calling your leads.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't doing that, instead of doom scrolling, get into Reddit to get some value, potentially get some leads that way. And then if we were to extract what we did for Katelyn, she, like we said, it was a niche market. She got what she got from us in 2 weeks' time, but it doesn't always happen that way. But if an agent wanted to go and do a similar thing in their market, thinking about the long tail, what would you recommend they do?
If they want to focus on long tail?
If they wanted to, be the best agent for condos in mainline Philadelphia, for example.
Oh yeah, you got to talk about it. Number one. I mean, shit, we can have an whole podcast just talking about this. In fact, if I can, I'm going to answer your question, but let me plug a masterclass we're doing. So Ryan and I are going to record a masterclass later this week. And what we could do, Ryan, I'm sure we can include this in the description of the video when we post this. Okay, great. Sign up for this masterclass. It's free. It's entirely free. This is a response when we see, again, going back to my early point in this podcast, marketers in the industry, influencers in the industry who are seeing and good on them. They're seeing the opportunity that this is presenting for agents. They don't have the experience of ever doing this. And so what we want to do is dispel any myths or bad information on how to become the agent AI recommends. So we're going to record this masterclass, try to keep it under an hour, but we are giving away a ton of information it will be incredibly valuable. So definitely take a look at this masterclass. Sorry, I brain dumped your question again. What was it about? What kind of content they create?
Exactly. If they want to be the best agent for, the long tail, and they own a subsection of their market, what are they doing today? How do they make this happen?
Yeah. I'll go back to local and topical authority. So you need to have authority on the topic. There's an acronym Google uses is EAT, right? Do you have the experience? Do you have the expertise? So if you have experience to talk about this topic, meaning let's say we'll use Douglas Lake. Does Katelyn have the experience? She does. She's been working Douglas Lake for years, right? She's helped buyers and sellers in there. Do you have the authority to be talking on this? And so this is where I think the content you're creating comes into play. If you can get coverage with local press is always looking for a new story. Katelyn is a good example of somebody who just received some accolades in August for being number 2 listing agent in her office, and then I think number 6 in the entire brokerage. Like, that's newsworthy. So it's something we go pitch a story to. That gives her authority to be able to talk about this. And then trustworthiness, the reviews. Does she have past buyers and sellers who have given her online reviews on Google, Zillow, Fast Expert, Yelp, saying that she's the best agent, she helped us through XYZ in Douglas Lake. So I'll be focusing on both on page and off page. So on page is the content we've been talking about, whether it's YouTube or long form blog and page content on the website, living in, moving to, best neighborhoods in, is this location safe, cost of living in X. That's the on page. The off page would be press coverage, even Reddit threads. That's off page SEO that helps improve one's authority.
Love it.
How'd I do?
Yeah.
Is that good?
I'll give you a solid 7 out of 10.
I'll take a 7.
Yeah,
that's a passing grade.
100%. If you were to get to an 8, you would have done it in a British accent.
Okay, I can't do that. I've already tried. Terrible.
I've heard your British accent. Let's not do that.
Dog. Yeah, it's
you would have lost points. To be fair.
How do I get to a 10? So I can't get to a 10, but I can get to a 9. What I leave out there?
To get to a 10, you have had to be me. That's the only way to get to the 10.
Right.
To get to a 9, you should have got the whiteboard out. That would have been crazy. Just to see you visually draw that out, I would have given you massive points.
The Charlie Day. Are you a Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan? You guys have that over there?
We do have it over here. I can't say I watch it. I don't watch much TV because I'm too busy doing this.
Well, this was like a 15-year-old episode. But he was working in a mailroom and he's smoking a cigarette. And he's trying to figure this. It's like a mind map of strings going everywhere, like a detective. That's if I had a whiteboard, I would look like that.
You look like that most days anyway. Let's be honest. Just trying to figure out how to like set your camera up or do Slack.
Dude, oh my God. If anybody knows how to figure out a Canon EOS 50,
Drop it in the
M50,
comments.
yeah, tell me why. It just lags.
DM Tim directly so he
DM
can
me
get...
directly. Yeah, free SEO advice if you could come figure out my tech setup so I don't have to use this. By the way, the camera looks okay.
The camera looks good. It doesn't look as crispy as mine. Again, the 10 and the 8 is quite a big gap. But it's okay. But if you can help Tim out and save me the hassle of trying to help him with tech, then please let him know.
Call me direct.
Okay, so I think that's everything from this week's. I found it, even me, just like riffing on some of the things that we didn't get to speak about last week, but we pulled together the data for. Super useful, super helpful. So that is the episode 2 wrapped for Show Me the Source, which I can get away of saying source because in the UK, source and source, as in the dipping source and the source of information. Just in case people didn't get the play on words, that's why we've done that. I think
it sounds like you're saying sauce.
Yeah, but you guys have like a bit of soul in that when you say sauce.
Sauce.
I say sauce.
Yeah.
Like, pass me the sauce,
and
please.
for those who don't know, it is officially titled Show Me the Source, but it sounds like Ryan is saying sauce. But we also are giving the sauce. There's the play on word.
That's the play on words. And with that bombshell,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. We will see you next week for episode 3. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Tim and Ryan, we will stay handsome and hopefully you guys have a great week.
Cheers.
Cheers.